Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel for some Smite 2 update shenanigans. We've got Aphrodite, Pele, and Medusa in-game that were just showing on the Titan Talk. We've got all of their abilities, in-game models, +1s, all that good stuff, so let's just jump right in.
Kind of spectral.
So we got Aphrodite here first. Looking pretty good. I will say this is a screen recording of the Twitch stream that was going on because it takes them a while to publish the Twitch VOD, so I just screen recorded it while it was going on, and now we're reacting to it, so the quality might be a little lower than what you would typically be seeing, like, actually in-game. Because, yeah, it is a screen recording of a stream, so it's already going to be, like, quite low bitrate and stuff.
Yeah, and updated the model a little bit from the last time we showed it off, addressed a lot of the community feedback, and I think looking better than ever.
Yeah, she looks good, though. She looks good, especially from the back. I probably shouldn't be saying Aphrodite looks good from the back, but, dude, she does. She looks so good.
All right, so let's just look at the kit a little bit first. We've got our kits. We've got our back off, our lovebirds, and our ultimate.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the full kit in terms of, like, all the ability effects in game and stuff like that. That's how it's all going to look, which is pretty cool. I think it's definitely an improvement, like, visually, especially on the 3. The 3 definitely looks a lot better than it did in Smite 1 in terms of, like, the quality of the birds and stuff like that. But they're going to go more into, like, the +1s and what's different with her now.
Pretty normal, but there's a lot of things that are not normal or expected, right?
There's a lot of new stuff with Aphrodite, but the new features for Aphrodite, so just to cover quick generals, she is still intelligence scaling only. There is no strength scaling on Aphrodite.
Makes sense. I don't think you want Aphrodite having a strength scaling. That'd be pretty weird.
Anything that she does.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. Back off, pushing you further or something. You know, we made some jokes about stuff like that, but no, it didn't really seem like fitting to her. So she's int only, and she deals magic damage only, obviously. Her passive meter has been reworked, so instead of seeing a whole bunch of hearts, which you can't really tell exactly how many you have there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Just instead of having to count a number of hearts that you're never going to realistically want to do, like when you're in a fight or whatever, it just shows you a straight up number, which is nice.
That's new. And you also, when you have a link target, you'll see their avatar here in your little locket. Like that's
Nice.
that's your one and only. Your soul.
Oh my god, cringe, dude. That's pretty cool though, just being able to see who you link to immediately at a glance, you know, if they're like behind a wall or if they're about to break the link or whatever.
One of the new things in Smite 2 is that you can actually stun and link at the same time.
Ooh, very nice.
That's pretty cool, dude. So, like, it can no longer be body blocked, which is nice. You know, if you got, like, a low HP ally that's about to get krakened or whatever, you can't stab an enemy step in front of you in case you're going to get stunned, and you'll still get the link as well. That's pretty cool.
The main change here was that ability to link and stun at the same time. If you do that,
that's pretty cool.
The long cooldown, though. Otherwise, you could pretty much stun.
Yeah, you get the long cooldown. That makes sense. So you don't want to just be chain stunning people by, like, kissing through them to one of your allies and just continually doing that.
Long cooldown. The other new feature of the kiss that's a pretty much specific new feature is if you stay linked to a target for a duration, 4 to 5 seconds, and then you switch targets, they both get jealous.
That's pretty cool, dude. So you got a little bit more of an incentive to kind of, you know, swap off of your main target. You know, if you've been kind of pocketing someone for most of the fight, when you swap off them, they'll keep that jealousy buff, and then the new target also gets it. And that's a pretty powerful incentive. The buff is insanely strong. Jealousy is like something like a 15% straight up damage output increase, which is insane. You know, it's not only like giving them 15% extra power, it's like more than that because it's going to affect their base damages and their item procs and all that kind of stuff. Actually, I'm not sure if it would affect item procs. I'm not sure if they get a benefit from % damage output increase, but regardless, it's a really powerful buff, so being able to spread that to 2 people at once is going to be like super powerful.
So a little bit of the design of the +1s for Afro are to encourage not just pocket healing for one person the whole game. So,
well, yeah, you can try and encourage that, but 80 to 90% of Afro mains are just going to do that anyway. It's the reason they play the carry till they just want to pocket one person. That's like the whole reason they play her in the first place. But I guess for those more refined Afro mains that actually play the character as not just pocketing one person, you're going to get a bit more value, which is cool.
So previously, back off, it always fires on you and your ally. In Smite 1, back off will only hit only one back off area would hit. So if we're both standing on this enemy Afro, it would just hit them one time. But in Smite 2, we're actually going to give you a little bit of additional bonus damage for hitting both areas. And this was one thing that we would see.
So yeah, it did look like full damage. I think it was like 192 and 48. So it looks like probably somewhere around 25%-ish. There might be exactly 25% actually of extra damage. So yeah, you're not going to be dealing double damage with this. If you were, it would be like half hitting people, which makes sense. But yeah, you're going to get like a 25% bonus if you're able to hit both back off targeters on the same enemy.
AO3, Doesn't really have any super different +1. It does have one exciting slight new feature, which is it has intelligence scaling has returned to the heal.
In scaling's back on heals. I do like this. I think it makes sense. It kind of felt always like really bad. Like personally, I hate healers. I hate when healers are meta. I think it like ruins the game a lot of the time. And they're very hard to balance. You got to be very careful with it. But I do feel like it was kind of weird to give them only per level scaling. It also kind of forced a lot of healers into the support role, which for me, I don't have a massive problem with. I think healers in the support role is okay, but it did kind of just make it so like building damage on healers was a little bit. It wasn't pointless. You still did more damage, obviously. But it was kind of weird that you had no way to scale the heal other than just leveling up. So I do think in scaling being back on the heals is a good thing. Obviously, you got to be very careful with balancing it. Healing's already strong in Smite 2 at the moment, so you got to be a little bit careful with adding too much power to these heals, especially when something like Smite 1 Curse Tank doesn't really exist in the game as that like true hard counter to these kind of healer picks. But yeah, I think in general it is cool that in scaling is going to be back on heals. I assume if they're giving it to Aphro, they're probably going to give it to Hell, and I think, does Ra already have it? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I do think it's cool that in scaling is back on this stuff.
So is the thought more that Aphro is primarily a mid laner, solo laner? Like, where do we see her? Because I know she was kind of more of a support later on in the Smite lifespan.
Right. Yeah. She's always been very flexible and can be good in a lot of places. I think we still are thinking of her as mid or support.
Okay.
So
mid or support makes sense. I wouldn't say she's ever been viable in any other role. Like Ajax is saying she's super flexible, like valuable in a lot of roles. It really is just like for most of her life she was a mid laner, and then for most of her life in the later years of Smite 1 she was a support. She wasn't really super viable in mid anyway. And that's what happens when you take power scaling off of her heal and give her prot share on her one and stuff like that.
Tank Aphro feels really good because Tank Aphro does have lots of utility that can be really useful, you know, and have on low cooldown. And also she transfers a significant portion of her protections to an ally. So even without any new Smite 2 tank scalings, she still has a strong, compelling reason to be Tank Aphro.
Yeah, I think both will definitely be viable by the looks of this. It doesn't seem like any of the like +1s are specifically aiming like towards Tank Aphro. But as Ajax said, she shares like 20% or something. It might have been nerfed over the years in Smite 1, but like a large percentage of her protections, considering she's a tank, you know, giving them to a squishy, it's going to be a large amount. And also like cooldown is so strong. There's a lot of strong cooldown tank items, and if Aphro can just live the entire fight with a roll on a 35-second cooldown or something, it's going to be really valuable in a meta with very little relic access compared to Smite 1 and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think she'll still absolutely be a viable support based on the looks of this, and probably more viable as a mid laner with it scaling back on the heal.
Okay, the ultimate. So this is where the biggest +1 is. If you press 4, you'll also see that at the bottom there's a little refire timer window down there, which is like not usually there. So if you press 4 again, while in your ultimate, you can fly to your ally, and that is a untargetable leap that goes through walls,
infinite distance, assuming you're still linked to them. I've known about this +1 for a little while. They shared it in the Ambassador Discord. It's kind of a crazy one. I'm not sure if Kiss goes through walls. If Kiss goes through walls, that's pretty powerful. You know, you could potentially, like, even if you're on the other side of a wall in a team fight from someone, you could link to them, ult, dash over, and then heal them and all that whatnot. And even get the extra, like, back off damage when you're over there and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty cool. Aphro, they're going to have to be a bit careful with it. There's a lot of +1s here. There's in scaling back on the heal. And with how strong cooldown is at the moment, and with how powerful her ultimate is going to be when people don't have beat Aegis, you know, her ultimate is beat Aegis for 2 people on probably about 40-second cooldown with a lot of CDR. They're going to have to be a bit careful with the balance. I feel like she is going to be a bit broken on release, especially if they don't tune down anything from Smite 1, because she's only getting extra stuff here, and she also fits better into the meta. So yeah, they might have to be a little bit careful with Aphrodite, but I do think those +1s are pretty cool, especially the ult being able to fly to people is really sick. But let's move on to, I think they showed Pele next. So yeah, here we go. Here's Pele. She's looking really good in game, man. That definitely is way more popping out of the environment, I feel like, compared to Smite 1 as well. She's looking really good.
Look weird. Okay, so we have Pele. So I'll just demo the kit again real quick, just to get started. So we've got
so one, 2. All my like purple on the effects.
And our amped 3.
Oh, the 3 looks good, dude.
And of course we have our alt.
And the ults.
Looks great. I love the effects.
It's a little bit of audio bugging out, I think, there. But yeah, that looks really cool, man. I like that they've added some kind of like, sort of like luminescent purple to the like edges of some of her abilities. I think it looks really good.
General, she is a strength scaling only, no intelligence scaling on her. There was a little bit of a debate about that it maybe could make sense with some of the fiery stuff, but like she's already kind of a burst ability assassin anyway, or lifesteal assassin. So
yeah, I think with Pele and strengthening, like, I think they could have gone either way and I would have been happy, because I think on an ability standpoint, like on a gameplay standpoint, I think strength only probably makes the most sense for her. I think she'll play best with strength only, but also like on a design perspective, I think int could make a lot of sense for her build, like because she has all these lightning effects and volcanic and fire and stuff like that. So I think definitely, you know, for example, her extra autos on the ult could have had some int scaling, maybe her 3 could have some int scaling, maybe her 1 as well. So I think either way they went with this, I probably would have been relatively happy. I think with some int scaling, she could be quite cool, but I think with strength scaling, it absolutely makes sense for her gameplay to be only strength scaling as well. So honestly, I think this is fine. I know there was a lot of debate about this in the community though, like that Pele should probably have some int scaling. But yeah, I'm pretty okay with her being strength only, I think. Thematically, some int scaling would have been cool, but I think gameplay-wise, it's kind of fine.
Her AO1, her Pyroclast has a small +1 on it with some of the details of the range and the deployables. In Smite 1, there's a pretty significant forward offset of those return projectiles. And if you hit someone at max range, like this Aphrodite in Smite 1, they're not going to get hit by those extra projectiles. Because they're kind of set
that's
back
cool.
towards Pele.
Yeah, that's something I do notice when I'm playing Pele. When you like max range someone with that, they're not going to get hit by the return. So it's good that that's, I guess, more so fixed. It's not really a +1, I wouldn't say. It's just like QOL, but that's really nice.
The AO2 and the AO3 have the real +1, and it's a bit of a combo effect. So, but if you're in the amped state of the 1, your 2 is now set forward, and you get a little dash forward.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
So it looks, we kept the animation the same.
Think I show it again?
But it actually gets you a little bit of extra range. So when you're really trying to chase someone down, you can go boom, boom, fire, and get a little bit extra forward.
Okay.
Whereas if you're just
Obviously I knew about this +1 as well. We've seen this already in ambassador related feedback tests and stuff like that. But I hadn't actually seen it in game until now, and that looks pretty smooth, man. I feel like that's going to feel good to play with. They just described it as a dash, and I thought it might be more so like an actual dash. But this seems more like it's just going to be sort of like almost not really a dash. Probably not a jump either. I don't think you would avoid like ground target abilities when you're doing that. It's more so just like a big burst of movement speed. That's what it looks like more so. So I think it'll flow quite well. You know, you're not going to be interrupted in doing other things. It looks more so just like a big burst of movement to be just like kind of like jump in there. The range is very short as well. That looks like something like 20 units or something like that. Well, they don't use the same units in Smite 2, but in Smite 1 terms, that looks like about 20 units or something, about a third of a basic attack. So it is relatively small, but you know, if you're amping 3 and in, which is what you already do with Pele, you already amp up your 3 and then do your 2, and then, you know, kind of because it's on a big delay, you'll catch up to the enemy by that time and then it'll pop off, but you could just use this dash now. That's pretty cool. And yeah, you have to be in the amplified version of the 3 to do that. If you just got the 3 active regular, you're not going to be able to do that. But obviously, if you want to conserve fuel or whatever, you can just quickly amp up the 3, press 2, de-amp it immediately and get that dash.
The other small +1 is the AO3. This ability in Smite 1 used to just have a seemingly intentional delay. Possibly that was because of abuse cases with like spamming or canceling or anything like that, but it just felt weird to have this like delay. And she doesn't have any pre-fire animation either, so you're just running and you press the button and it's like duh, then it grows. So that delay felt awkward, so we went ahead and sped this up as quick as possible. So this
that's good.
Starts applying. You get the movement speed. You know.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That is something I noticed when I played Pele in Smite 1. She did feel like a little bit of a weird delay on that. And removing this kind of stuff is just going to make characters feel a lot more smoother. You know, anytime they do this, where they like, you know, shorten pre-fire times or remove startup animations and stuff like that, it just makes abilities feel a lot better. So this will probably feel really good for Pele as well. But yeah, I think that's about it for Pele. She didn't really get too much, honestly, which I don't think she really needed much. I think she was kind of fine. I think the main thing they could have done is go a little bit of int scaling, but as I said, I think it's fine that she's full strength scaling. So it's mainly just that dash when you're using the amplified 3 into the 2. Nothing else has really changed with Pele. But yeah, we're moving on to Medusa now. This is going to be the last card that they showcased on the Titan Talk. Here's her in game. She's looking good, I gotta say.
So general, Medusa is the new hybrid scaling character of the update. She now has intelligence scaling on a lot of her damaging abilities at different amounts. So you can kind of play more of a mid lane int ability burst Medusa if you want.
Yeah, that's really cool. So obviously a little bit like an inverse of Pele, I would say, with Medusa. I think gameplay-wise, her having some int scaling makes good sense. You know, she always has been one of these characters that built a lot more ability-based as a hunter. And so I think gameplay-wise, adding some int makes sense. It's going to give her a lot more build flexibility. She can go into stuff like Book of Thoth and Soul Reaver. She probably will end up going a double stacking build, I would imagine, with Book of Thoth and Trans. I think that will make sense for her. So yeah, from a gameplay perspective, I think giving Medusa some int scaling makes a ton of sense. But then from like a visual design and like lore perspective, I think int scaling doesn't doesn't make a whole lot of sense for her. You know, compared to like Pele, for example. I think Pele within scaling, like visually, would make a lot more sense than Medusa within scaling. But generally, gameplay will always triumph like, you know, thematic designs, in my opinion. I think the gameplay should be there before you look at any kind of like thematic reasons to add like in scaling or whatever. And so yeah, I think the way they've done it with keeping Pele strength only and keeping Medusa, or making Medusa into a hybrid, I think that definitely makes sense in gameplay wise. So I think that's good.
So her gameplay effects: ability 1, Viper Shot. Successfully hitting Viper shots on enemies will now reduce the cooldown of this ability per shot. And the attack speed stim scales with strength
Nice.
as well. So I guess like if you really want to go carry
yeah, so that's pretty
Medusa,
cool.
you've
I
gotta
like
go
that.
strength.
So you're going to get a little bit of cooldown off of the one if you're hitting those shots consistently. I think it's 0.5 seconds per shot, so 2 seconds off in total if you're going to hit all 4 shots of the one, which is a little scary to a certain extent balance-wise, because Medusa's one is one of the most powerful stims in the game. It's very underrated in my opinion. It does so much damage, a massive amount of attack speed, and the cooldown is actually relatively low. And you know, if you're building a lot of cooldown, you can go stuff like Chronos Pendant probably on Medusa and Smite 2, because you're going to have a lot of int scaling. The cooldown for that could get very low because it's flat cooldown reduction. Obviously it's a flat 2 seconds off of it, so if you know, lower the cooldown is, the more value you're going to get from that. So balance wise could be a little scary, but I like that change. And then the strength scaling on the attack speed is also very interesting. So if you're going for more of an int based build, maybe you're going a bit hybrid, leaning more into the int for like an ability based build, you're going to get less attack speed from that. But if you're going more strength heavy, or maybe if you want to just go like straight up strength ability based build and don't throw any int in there whatsoever, you're going to get extra attack speed from the one, which is quite cool.
So I forgot to just fire the kit in general. So the Viper Shot, Acid Spray, the Dash, Lacerate, and our Ultimate.
Yeah, that's the whole kit as well if you're interested in just seeing the kit flow and stuff.
The other new feature is the AO4, and this has got a couple things involved in it. Cheats to get it to trigger. So Medusa now makes statues if an enemy dies while slowed while this ability. In addition to the existing conditions in Smite 1. So you've slightly...
Okay, so you create statues if they were hit by the ability regardless, you know. I assume there's some kind of duration on that. You know, you probably can't hit someone and then 30 seconds later you kill them and they create a statue. Probably only while the slow is active from the ult. But yeah, if they turn away from it, which on PC happens a lot, on console probably happens a little bit less with the turn speeds and stuff. But yeah, if you're hitting them with that slow and not with the stun, you're still going to be able to create statues. And that is for some other plus ones that they'll probably talk about in a second.
I'm just going to test by killing this Afro in this way. I think killing would any...
So yeah, there you go. You can see you kill her from the back.
Afro
She wasn't
statue.
stunned whatsoever, but you still get a statue.
Whenever a statue is destroyed by anyone, Medusa gains a temporary strength and int buff and a small permanent stacking strength and int buff. So actually you
That's
want
pretty
to
cool.
farm statues throughout the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you create more statues, which is going to be a little bit easier in Smite 2, you're going to get a permanent stacking buff and then like a temporary, probably much stronger buff. We'll see how much this is. You know, it could be really powerful. It could be ancillary. It kind of depends on the values that you're getting. Generally, they've been a little careful with adding permanent scaling. They've been adding it a lot more in Smite 2, but generally the values are quite low. So it's probably going to be like 1 strength and 2 in per statue or something like that. It's not going to be like 10 or anything on the permanent buff. And I doubt you're going to be playing a mini game of trying to like run around destroying statues and stuff. It's probably going to be something that just passively happens over time. You know, as you hit more ults throughout the game, maybe you hit like 10 statues or whatever, you get a little bit of a small buff.
And also, her ability 3 can break the statues, and when a statue breaks, whether it was from the 3 or not, for any condition, it takes 5 seconds off the cooldown of her dash. So let's see. So I was a 14 seconds, so I'm gonna dash through it. Okay, that didn't work.
Might be a dev thing.
I might have done something.
Okay, so that seems like a bug, but yeah, your 3, if you dash through a statue, is going to immediately break it, guaranteed, so you can get like that temporary strength and int buff to fight afterwards. And it is also going to reduce the cooldown of the 3 by 5 seconds flat. So again, if you've got a lot of cooldown reduction in your build, which is very available in Smite 2 right now, especially if you're going some int, you maybe get like a Chronos Pendant or whatever. It's 5 seconds flat off of the cooldown. So if you can manage to get your dash down to like, you know, maybe a 9-second base cooldown or something with a lot of CDR, it's going to pretty much just refresh your dash, which is kind of nutty. And again, I don't think this is something you're going to be majorly playing around. Statues probably aren't that common, at least not in Smite 1. You will be creating a little bit more statues in Smite 2 because of the ult when it slows also creates a statue. But still, I don't think you're going to be necessarily playing around this like all the time and thinking about it and stuff. It just might happen occasionally where you get a little bit of cooldown off of your dash and stuff like that. But yeah, that is pretty much it for Medusa as well. She didn't get too many +1s, which again, I don't think she needed too many. Medusa's already a pretty solid design. But yeah, there you go. That is Medusa, Pele, and Aphrodite all in game showcased on the Titan talk recently. It's really cool. I'm excited for this patch. I'm not excited for Aphrodite, obviously. Anyone that watches my channel frequently will know that it's going to be absolute pain playing against that character in Smite 2. I think she's going to be super strong just because of how unavailable beats and Aegis are. She gets beats and Aegis on like a 40-second cooldown with a lot of CDR for 2 people. Probably going to be pretty nutty in support and in mid. I expect to see a lot of Aphrodite, but me personally, I'm going to be playing a ton of Pele. Absolutely, I'm very excited to have Pele in as another fun jungler that I can play. We've been getting a lot of good junglers recently with like Thor and Pele. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed my coverage of the 3 newest gods coming to Smite 2. Probably next Tuesday, I think, is when this patch is going to drop. Let me know your thoughts on them down below, and I will catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.